Hello, this is Kurt Wahlner. Today we're going to color this pencil of the North Facade of the White House. And to begin, we're going to take up the subject of light. In this series of drawings of the White House that I want to do, I want to have the light be consistent from drawing to drawing. And I've chosen to set it at about 10 o'clock in the morning on a spring morning. I've chosen the spring because that's when I think the landscaping looks the best and makes the best impression. And in the springtime, the sun rises over the east and is in approximately this quadrant right around 10 o'clock. So that's where I want the sun to be in every drawing. But because I don't want to draw hard shadows on all of the architecture, I'm going to make it an overcast day. So the sun is in this position in front of the White House, just a little bit to the east, and overcast. The sun is looking at the building from the south, but how will it look when it's backlit, when we're looking from the north to the south, and all of the columns and the shadows going around them? This is what we're trying to figure out before we put our first big color in. So, fun and games as usual. So as most of you know, the way that I proceed with this is to trace the pencil using a light table onto this piece of paper. I put all the black lines in, and while I'm doing that, I can concentrate on how I'm going to put in the most challenging color, which in this case is going to be the white color of the White House as it's backlit from the south. It's going to be tricky. I'm starting in with the entablature at the top of the building, and I'm going to work my way down to the bottom. I spend a lot of time musing over things like this during the endless amounts of time it takes to do the inking. The inking is a very slow, methodical kind of experience, and it gets me thinking about how I'm going to attack some of my coloring problems. It's always a technical challenge. Okay, now we're done with the inking. We can move on to the coloring, and I've been thinking about all of that as I've been going along. The white walls of the White House, the northern side of the White House on a nice spring morning. We'll bring this thing back in order to demonstrate how this thing works with the light, the sun coming from behind the building. It's very tricky. As cute as my little model is, it doesn't really capture what the real conditions are like, so we need to look at some photographs. Alas, Yorick, I knew you well. So actual photos of the north facade of the White House show that the portico casts a shadow over where it is, and the rest of the light is pretty general. So this is a good thing. I like this one the best, and it also shows the reflection of the windows really well, which is another concern of mine. So now I have to figure out how to do my colors, and what I'm thinking of doing is putting a light gray on the surface of the walls themselves, and then utilize the whiteness of the paper to be the very brightest parts. So they'll be the highlights, which is where the sun is shining directly, or where the light is shining directly down on horizontal surfaces primarily. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to bathe this whole thing in gray, light gray, except for where I want little highlights to be, and then we'll do some additional shading. There, that's about as far as I want to go with that. If I go any further, it'll end up being the gray house instead of the white house. So I have to bear that in mind. Can't go too far with this. Next, we need to begin putting in some details around the windows and the columns. All the pieces of the White House that need to be drawn, I think that the base of the capitals are probably the most difficult. So that brings us to the conclusion of putting in all of this gray for the White House walls. Another cute thing that I want to show you is the reflection of the windows. Now, we go to our top-down view. We need to establish what is on the other side of the reflective rainbow. You start off with establishing where the line of windows are going to be, and then you project on the other side of that line what is, or what ought to be, reflected in that great big window. And then you cut it off so that they're just the pieces that are reflecting in the windows that are on the building need to be rendered. Does that make any sense? Well, part of the cute thing about windows and reflectivity is that the more perpendicular you are to a given window, the more immutable the transparency is, and the more oblique the angle is, the more it's just reflective. So when it's perpendicular, you can see in and also see the reflections, but when they're more oblique, you only see the reflections. This is good because I only have a bunch of windows to the left side of the composition that are more oblique, and then I have a couple of windows on the right that are perpendicular. So this makes things nice and easy for me. Okay, so they're telling me that I have to wrap this up. But in the render, you try and put both colors in, both the things that are within the window and the things that are being reflected in the window. And I especially like the way that this window turned out with its reflectivity and the shadows and the detail and all of that kind of stuff. It all turned out rather nicely. If you're enjoying these videos, please subscribe to the channel if you would. Thank you for your attention. Until next time, bye-bye.